Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the hot comics from March 7th, 2025, and I'm recording this on September 3rd, 2020, right? It's the 3rd, it is the 3rd, 2025. As always, those dates are so you know when this information is most relevant. Also, as always, we're looking back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 and the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. Those are the two lists I've been doing now for over 6 years, so we just stick with those. I know there's some other hot lists. They give you a good spread of the books that are moving in the market, that are trending, that people are chasing, whether they be new covers or option news or whatever. This week, we only actually have 12 books between those two lists to talk about because there was way more overlap than normal. But still got 12 books that we can talk about. And yeah, so we're going to see what factors made them hot 6 months ago, what factors are affecting them now. Would you have been better to buy in? Would you have been better to be patient? And so hopefully we can all make a little bit better choices in what we go chasing after and what we're patient and look for the right deal on. So without further ado, let's dig into this list and see what we can learn this week. First up, we have Impact Winter, #1. This was optioned by Netflix, which is what caused it to hit the list. $10 to $35 back then, still $5 to $25 now, 9.875. So a little bit of an I'll be back. Top end's down a little bit, the bottom end's down a little bit. But, you know, you could almost put steady and I'll be back. It's through a pretty good chunk of the range. Just those high-end sales really have disappeared. But still doing pretty well. Don't know when we'll ever get something like this or if it'll even get made. But at this point, still doing okay if you chase it, but you've still been better off just being a little bit patient. Next, we have Invincible #60. And as we had season 3 of Invincible coming out. And now this is like the 3rd or 4th week in a row where we've had multiple Invincible books come on the list. And they have bucked all the normal trends in terms of 6 months later being backing up. People not being chased them. People love Invincible, and they have loved the show, and it has kept these books sustained in a way you do not normally see from a TV show, particularly an animated show, but even live action stuff anymore don't usually hold books like this 6 months later. It's $40 to $75 back then. Now it's a $75 to $175 book. 9.8 went from $250 to now $325 to $350. It seems like fundamentally changed the value on some of these Invincible books. How long that will last? I know we're getting to season 4, so I would guess probably it may be now after the series is completed before we ever get to see these books start to back up. Maybe. But yeah, up at straight cash like most of these Invincible books we've looked at. Next, we have Tech Jacket #1. First appearance of Tech Jacket, but also includes a 5-page Invincible preview. That's why this is popular. It's the 5-page Invincible preview. $100 back then, 9.8, $175. Now $100 to $125, but 9.8s are $325, $350. Yeah, up in straight cash. Those 9.8s have jumped a ton. This preview of Invincible, again, everything since season 3 has come out, everything has been Invincible. People have been paying premiums for these books. It's weird that season 3 did something that seasons 1 and 2 didn't really do, but that is what we were seeing. And because a lot of those books that were like at the time were characters that were showing up in seasons 1 and 2 jumped a little bit, but they didn't really sustain. But now everything, season 3 has lifted all time. I guess it's just been enough that people have really, really stayed on the Invincible train. Next, we have Red Hulk #1, the Joshua Cassara Diamond PX exclusive, limited to 3,000. Back then, 65 to 95, which was already down from what it was when we talked about it last week, which was 65 to 125. There was a 9.8 pre-sale for 160. Now it's a $20, $60 book, down in a trap. No reason to have chased this particular homage cover, even though it is kind of cool. Next, we have X-Force #116, first appearance of Droop. I don't remember what this guy's name is. Anyway, supposedly there was some concept art leaked for him to be in X-Men 97, $20 to $40, 9.8, $150 to $250 back then. Now it's at $10 to $35, 9.8, $70 to $75. So definitely a trap on the 9.8. Actually, a dumpster fire on the 9.8 side, but probably an I'll be back on the raw side. So we went with trap, kind of is the evening out of how much this book is dropped back. Next, we got Secret Wars #2, first appearance of God Emperor Doom. And again, this was some concept art leaked for this character to show up in. I guess the other concept art was leaked for maybe like a Marvel live action thing, actually. Because this was concept art leaked for potentially Secret Wars, I guess. Yeah, I'd forgotten that. So it wasn't X-Men 97, then the previous book. It was for Secret Wars or Doomsday or whichever one's coming first. I forget. $15 to $30, 9.8, 90 to 100. Now it's a $10 to $15 book. Down in the Trap. No reason to chase this particular book at that time. Even though there's still a lot of books that are just Doom related that are doing pretty well, this one has dropped back despite the concept art. Next, we have Fantastic Four Annual #6, first appearance of Franklin Richards, and this is we finally got confirmation that Franklin was going to make some sort of appearance in the FF movie. He did. 70 to 175 back then, 8.5, 650. Raw copies, 30 to 200 on recent raw sales, 8.5, though, 7 to 900. So up worth it. I looked across it. I went up worth it as opposed to up straight cash because I looked across some other grades and it looked like it had just crept up a little bit, not as much as what we see here with like the 8.5, but yeah, like the raw copies and stuff. Most of them were smaller increases than this, but yeah, up and worth it. I think people were pretty happy with the FF movie for maybe the first time ever. And the general consensus was that it was good. And I think people are, looking forward to more with Franklin because we clearly got hinted at more with Franklin. Next, we got Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man #9, first appearance of White Tiger in a standard comic, 20 to 45, 9.8, 200 as we were coming out with Daredevil Born Again. Now it's a $5 to $25 book. Down in the Trap. No reason to chase this one. We'll tell you the rest of this list is all related to Daredevil Born Again. Next, we have Daredevil 131, first appearance of Bullseye, 125 to 185 back then for Raw, 9.6, 720, 50 to 500 on Raw copies, 9.4, 450, all the way up to 725. No recent 9.6 sales that I could find. So I went with steady and worth it, even though that 9.4 almost got up to the 9.6 value. Just looking at some other stuff, maybe a slight creep forward on this one, but not a lot. It's pretty much in the same range as it was back then overall. Yes, there were some higher grade raw sales that sold for really high values here compared to like the 125, 185 back then, but you don't know exactly what the grades were back then. But anyway, just looking at the slab sales, maybe a very slight bump, but very slight overall. Next, we have Daredevil #11, first appearance of Muse, who was a villain, obviously, in the show. 50 to 100 back then, 9.8, 318. Now 40 to 110. So raw sales right in the same range, but the 9.8s have come well back down, 150 to 200. But there's only a couple of those sales, so I did go with the steady, and I'll be back on because of the raw. The 9.8s, though, definitely have dropped into trap range for sure on this one, but just haven't been a lot of sales on those. Next, we have Daredevil 183, first Daredevil versus Punisher. Even though we got this during the Netflix show, we were getting both characters again in this show, so people were back on this book. $25 back then, 9.8 to 16. Now 10 to 65 on raw sales, which is very wide range. Most of the raw sales, though, are more like 10 to 45 with, that 65 being a little bit of an outlier, but 80 to 180 on a 9.8. So we'll call this steady and then I'll be back. I think you can get some better deals generally, but still, in the same kind of range. And last but not least, we have Amazing Spider-Man 129, first appearance of the Punisher. 300 to 1,600 on raw sales back then. But raw sales recently, 500 to about 2,000, but then there was a 45, 450 raw sale. So there was a really nice copy that sold that obviously people think it's like maybe a 9.6 or 9.8 candidate because the 9.4 only sells for 4,000. So yeah, which is actually down a little bit from the 45 it sold back then. Overall, this has been a very steady book over the last 6 months across most grades. Obviously, we still got hype that the Punisher is going to be in the next Spider-Man movie. So, yeah, they brought Bernthal into the MCU. They're going to continue to use him. So, yeah, this book, plus, even without this is a classic book, straight cash book long-term. So a book that is, as my friend Marcus would say, is a get in where you fit in book for sure. So that is this week's list. Only 12 books. We got a quick video this week. I will give a quick shout out to my members as a thank you. I appreciate all these folks for helping me keep the channel going, help me cover StreamYard costs. I do giveaways for them at the end of every month. So, and they get early access to this video and all my pre-recorded videos. A reminder to anybody that only watches this video on my channel, I'm taking some vacation time. I'm going to be away. So next couple weeks, you may not see this video. Maybe next week. We'll see if I get it done before I get out of here. But yeah, so I'm going to be on a little bit of vacation in September. So you won't see a ton of me. Be back toward the end of September and back in the swing of things. So with that, let's do a quick recap of what we saw this week. 3 books up, 4 books down, or steady, 5 books down. Red Hulk was our big dropper. Invincible was our big gainer. So that is kind of what was going on this week. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time. Later.